It is Sportsfeld. You're goddamn right.
What's up?
Boy, oh boy. October's over.
Sure is a Wednesday in November.
You got that right. If you're listening to this and you have a Halloween username, time to change it.
Yeah. It's like Christmas lights. After the day it's over, you should take them down.
Halloween username looking like an old pumpkin right now that you left on the porch, just melting.
Never really been into the Halloween username thing.
I feel like I did it way back in the day.
Probably. I mean, we all did things way back in the day on Twitter that were Twitter-esque.
Back when it was cool.
Yeah. It was just a bunch of lame boomers.
Okay.
Hey,
you know what? I see that? See
that's
that?
funny.
There is stuff to talk about as the winter rolls on. As we enter November.
Yeah.
Raptors, always front of heart and
Could
front of
say
mind.
it's the early November right now. Oh, it's a band. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Maple Leafs doing their Maple Leafy things.
Yep.
Maple Leafs leading the league in frustrating wins, I think.
You made a good point. I thought before we came on that they're undefeated in November.
Undefeated.
And everyone's so angry.
2-0. They, we'll get into this, but they remind me of me in a way that they know exactly how much they have to do to not
Inertia.
to not lose, and then they're like,
word, yeah.
they're like, yeah, okay. Like last night was perfect. There was 5 minutes left, and then like, oh, Matthews was like, oh, I better get 2 points here,
2 goals in like a minute. They're like, all right, this team's bad.
and then I'm gonna bounce. See ya.
Yeah.
And every person watching the game, all the talking heads are like, where's Matthews been all game? He's like, oh, here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Not trying for literally 55 minutes.
and then we won, so knock off. Also, Toronto FC is in a very important
Cup
game.
final.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, it is actually.
Literally, it's hard to
Yes,
believe.
it's very.
Not just saying that.
Yeah, it's surprising and it's fun. And I said they were going to lose last week and they didn't. So what do I know?
Feels like they're gonna win, doesn't it?
Kind of, but I also don't. I'm not going to say I'm a Seattle Sounders follower, so I don't know enough to know what their matchup is like.
Mm-hmm.
I know they had a better record, and that's been it.
But so did everybody they beat so
Right?
far.
Yeah. So who knows? That's my analysis.
One game.
We'll get into it.
Look
more
forward to more of that
We'll
when it's the in-depth segment about the TFC. Lots to come. But first, also it being November, that means it's a new brewery of the month.
favorite thing about each month is trying new beer.
Mm-hmm. And we're meeting our neighbors this month, pardon me.
Yeah.
It's-
This week too.
Yes, this week we start to meet our neighbors over the next month. How
Next
about
few
that?
weeks
How
will
about
be.
that?
Yeah, I
How
like
about
it.
that? This month we did not have to go very far to find our brewery. Literally, like 200 meters away from the office is Abilene.
Big lift for Sean and Clay. Here.
They did it though.
Yeah,
The
that's
important
true.
thing is somebody went and did it.
That's true.
And it wasn't us. And now the beer's here.
I mean, I can't complain.
It's 1042 Queen Street East in Leslieville. Not this place, but
The beer.
the beer,
place.
the brewery.
Yeah.
1042 Queen Street East, Leslieville, Ontario. Leslieville in Toronto, Ontario. That is to say, they're new. They're very brand new. We were told.
Yeah. I've not heard of them before, so that makes sense that they're brand new.
A beautiful,
I'm excited, though.
pristine white building. We were told.
This is a great this can looks like it's a race car.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks like a Formula One color scheme.
So we're starting off. They gave us a beautiful selection of beers. We have a Vienna Lager, a Geist Stout, and a Bohemian Lager on the table here. If you are watching on YouTube, today we are starting off easy, traditional. We're going with the Abilene IPA. It's a 6% IPA. Call it lush aromas of orchards and citrus groves meshed seamlessly with notes of honey and biscuits. Clay did not write this week's copy. Crack them open. Abilene, beautiful can.
I do love a beer can. I'm not I don't drink short cans a lot, and I like it.
Ooh,
Oh, that's delicious.
yeah. How about that when it hits your lips?
It does have the honey to it.
Yes,
I like that a lot.
really punches you in the back of the throat.
Yeah. I could definitely drink too many of these and have a headache the next day.
That there's a full mouth beer.
Yeah. I like that.
6%.
Kick ass.
The Abilene IPA. Come on out. Queen Street East. Come hang out. They have food as well. They give us a whole menu. They are our neighbors. They have a whole menu here. I got all the.
Oh, I haven't looked at the menu.
Check it out. All the beers, all the kitchen. They gave us. It seems like the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
I think it could be. Ooh, Slipway coming soon.
Yeah. See, Jake's gonna be nose deep in this for a little bit.
Yeah. Got Royal Canadian mead. Got some cider, some cocktails, wines. Wow. Whole shebang.
Do go on.
I like it. I was waiting for food to be here, but this is just a drink menu.
That's correct.
I don't have that to talk about.
So anyway, 1042 Queen Street East, Leslieville in Toronto, Ontario. You can sit down, you can get a bite, as well as a beer. Look for the pristine white building on the north side of Queen Street and tell them Sportsfeld sent you.
Yeah, they'll.
And they'll go, what?
Who? Is that a person?
You know, the podcast.
Sportsfeld?
And then they'll go, what?
We
What?
gave beer to who?
And then you just go, okay, boomer, give me a beer.
Yeah. Hey, there it is again.
Got it in
That's
twice.
2.
This podcast is going viral.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's be real.
I think that's our best shot at this point.
People are going to roll their eyes so hard they're going to get headaches listening to this. Oh boy, in a mood today.
We are hip to the youths of today.
We'll get to it at the end. But the show is called Sportsfeld.
It is.
Sports is number 1. Of the 2 words.
It's in our first
of the word and a half.
I guess that's right. First in our rundown, anyway.
Correct. And people, you know, even our own producers, like I listen to the front half and the back half of the show, which means I didn't listen to the sports.
Yeah. Cassie frequently tells me that she listens to not the sports.
Hey, whatever.
But you know what? That's just us selling us, maybe.
Counts the same to me.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know.
I have no idea.
They don't even show us the numbers.
Well, no, we're not allowed because I'd have a panic attack every time. They showed us the numbers one time when we started, and I was like, "Oh, what is it today?" And Sean's like, "You have to stop. Please stop asking me."
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, it takes like 7 days," and then we forget about it a week from then.
Yeah.
So. Sports is the measure of the day. The reason we're here is to talk about sports.
Sport.
Absolutely right. Your Toronto Raptors. What did you think of the game against the Milwaukee Bucks?
If they scored in the first quarter, they would have beat the shit out of them, I think. I can't tell if it's the Raptors being like quite good, which I do think they are, or we're just right and the Bucks are kind of bad.
They may be frauds.
They might be like Giannis is going to Giannis, unquestionably.
Evidently.
He's amazing. He's one of those weird freak unicorn builds that can just kind of do everything, it seems. But we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, I forget, about the Bucks. And without Malcolm Brogdon, and as we correctly said, Brook Lopez is not shooting, 62% from 3 again this year.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't look quite as dynamic as they did last year. Like I remember last year, both in the games we played them in the regular season and in the 6 games in the playoffs, especially the first 2 in the playoffs. And even the first 3, they had such the speed of their ball movement and their ability to find the right pass to the right man and the volume of their shooting and the accuracy of their shooting. I know it's one game, so I can't be like, oh, they're not the same because it's November.
It was a pretty good microcosm of what their year's been like, though.
Yeah, they don't seem that like last year. It was like, oh my God, how are we going to beat this team? They just shoot us out of the building. There's nothing you can do. It felt like watching the Warriors of years past as well, where it's just like, you can play a great game, but they're going to hit 42 threes, so it doesn't matter. And I don't know, this felt more like the Giannis show. It felt like, a little better, but similar to those old Cavs teams where it was like LeBron and a bunch of guys.
Right.
It kind of feels, the Bucks to me feel a little bit like that this year.
Yeah,
Chris Middleton's probably better than anyone who was on those Cavs teams, except maybe like prime Kevin Love and prime Kyrie, but like
that's a reasonable assessment.
It just feels sort of it's the Giannis show, which can take you far in the NBA because Giannis is amazing.
That was also a great Kyle Lowry game.
Yes, it was.
I think he had 36.
I feel like maybe the winning the title seems to have fueled his moment meter. I think he seems to be like, okay, I gotta. Whether he can do that for 8 months is another question, but.
After we had the Blake pod here,
yes,
and I had my last messages of if you were to be somebody who was arguing against Kyle Lowry, what would you do?
Right.
I've decided going forward.
You're pro Kyle?
Not just pro, but I really examined all the things, everything, and I'm just like, I'm describing myself, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, I think but Kyle's an easy guy to do that with. I don't think you're unique in that.
Yeah,
mindset. It's been his entire career.
It was the greater internet opinion for a long time.
Yeah, and his whole thing, his entire career has been proving people who think he's bad wrong.
Yes.
That's literally been even in the playoffs, when they won a title, he had to deal with that 3 or 4 times. After game 1, he put up 0, and everyone's like, oh, here's Kyle Lowry again. And then, it took him till hitting the first 4 or 5 shots of the clinching game for people to be like, Kyle Lowry's amazing.
Yes.
That's just how Kyle is. He's just going to be one of those guys.
We have no choice but to stand.
Yeah, it's true.
We've examined all the options.
We must stand.
There's no secondary choice.
Here's my question for you about the Raptors.
Please.
So we've sort of been trying to evaluate, how good are the Raptors? What's the chances this year? Are they going to trade people? Friend of the show, guest of the show, Alex Wong had a tweet during the Bucks game on Saturday, basically saying, "Please, Masai, go get Wayne Ellington or someone from the Knicks. Because the idea being the Raptors are one piece away that doesn't have to be a Kawhi-sized piece from being a legitimate title contender. I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you?
I think adding is the way to go. I think, a lot of the preseason previews were like, oh, they're going to get to a point where they have a crossroads and they have to decide if they're going to sell or buy. I don't think, barring like a complete catastrophe, they're ever going to come close to, we should sell. It doesn't seem like, so then to that
especially
becomes,
if the worst case is these guys are off the books next year anyway.
Absolutely right. So you may as well, if you can get somebody like that who's on an expiring anyway, and it's just another expiring contract and you're not giving up a whole lot, because that other part of it is there isn't a lot of wiggle room to move off the roster. I guess you could say you could move off of Pat McCaw, for example, which is somebody who's making above minimum but isn't making a ton, but could bring you back a reasonable piece. Yeah, I think that is a move. I think we're seeing right off the hop here that guard depth is going to be where the questions are asked, because we love Kyle, obviously.
It's a thin rotation, boy.
Absolutely, we love Kyle and we love Fred, but they're both averaging more than 38 minutes a game right now, which is that's a lot.
A lot of usage.
Not only is one of them on the floor the entire time, both of them are on the floor most of the time.
And to your point about, to go back to Pat McCaw, we kind of touched on this before we came in, but like, you don't like to have be in the position where you see Pat McCaw's out for a few weeks and you're like, oof.
Yeah.
It's not even about Pat McCaw himself. It's just this rotation is already like 8 guys.
Yeah, it's more the idea. Exactly right. It's not like, now we don't have Pat McCaw to lean on, because part of the appeal of having Pat McCaw is some games you don't even play him. Like, we didn't even need him tonight. But it's the ones where that worries me about the Pat McCaw not being there is when they're up like 25 and they have the opportunity to rest some guys for 10 extra minutes, and they can't because you don't need Terrence Davis playing the last 15 minutes of the game, basically. I love Terrence Davis, but you're not handing him the keys.
He could be, he's still an undrafted rookie. Like
in his first month in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot to ask.
He looks like he belongs in an NBA rotation, no question, but should he be the 6th, 7th guy in the rotation? Probably not.
Yeah, and maybe this is the wrong comparison to make based on how he played when he came here, but I also think there's probably going to be a Jeremy Lin-esque sort of, they get a veteran that gets bought out. It's easy to look back at it and go, wow, Lin really didn't contribute anything. But at the time we were here, we were like, this is perfect. It's a playable NBA guy that can be he can be a DNP CD, or he can play 15 minutes. That's sort of in that same Patrick McCaw mode. And I think Ellington probably fits that plus a little bit, plus some shooting, plus some wing defending. But I think that is the mold. I think as much as Nick Nurse seems to love Pat McCaw, as much as he is a proven winner. Quote unquote. There's room for a guy who also fits in there and does those things, because with Norm and with Terrence Davis and with Pat McCaw, good players, usable players, but you really don't know what you're getting night for night. And similar to how the forward rotation, you have Stanley Johnson and Hollis Jefferson, who are sort of redundant. They're there because one can have a bad game, one can have a good game, and you can sort of figure that out. The same will go with the guard rotation, because none of those guys behind Kyle and Fred are so complete that you are happy to be like, all right, now you're taking over this thing. That was sort of the luxury last year with Fred not even being a starter, which is like,
right. And that's,
they had Dana Green.
And I think that's a big change. And like, they do seem to be, Pascal seems to be as good, if not better, as advertised, which is great. OG seems to be taking that step that everyone wanted. And like, when your 5th best starter is playing like OG is, then you're in good shape. But I've definitely shifted from, okay, let's see how the first few months play out and we'll go from there, to, boy, I'm really excited to see what their record is at the trade deadline, to see what could potentially happen. Because I do think that, to your point, A, there's no reason to sell, and B, they could. There's also, with the way this roster is playing and the way it's constructed, you add a solid piece on a rental, there's no reason to think this team couldn't make the finals again.
Yeah.
The East isn't that good that it's like unquestionably impossible.
Yeah, I think to your point about how the Bucks play, and even a greater overarching thing is to the Sixers, is they are going to be tough, they are going to be defensive, but they're not. It's not LeBron with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving.
Exactly.
Where you look at it and you go, well, there's nothing they can do, right? They can make that a series. They can play them tough. Maybe they lose in 6 or 7, but there's going to be some games that come down to 2 or 3 possessions either way.
Yeah. And I think in a season like this, the Raptors, that's all you can ask for.
Other thing this week from the Raptors, Pascal Siakam, too many fouls.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal.
Which, like, he'll figure that out.
He's averaging like 5 fouls a game.
He does seem to foul out. He's fouled out like 3 times.
But it also gave me one of my favorite things in the world, which is like this season's Nick Nurse, where every day he's like, fuck you. Like, you're gonna make me happy? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm Nick Nurse.
I do think with Pascal's also, like, you notice a little bit that because he's the number one option and because he's playing like one, he is in the position to, he hasn't earned the whistle yet. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to get a lot of fouls because he's getting so much usage and he's playing so many minutes but he doesn't quite have the benefit of the whistle yet.
Yeah.
Which will come and is fine. So I agree with you that it is an issue, but I'm not particularly concerned. If it's still an issue in March, then maybe I'm more concerned.
Having seen a lot of the games this year, and just colloquially, a lot of it to eliminate is like, don't take a reach-in foul in the first quarter. Like, it's just that simple, right? It's just get rid of the early ones that you have two hands on the guy, or you're just not, like, those stops aren't as vital as much as you want to always be playing good defense. If it's 5% less and you're just not on the edge of having a foul, that's fine.
The other side of that, though, is like, what's the balance? Like, Pascal's whole thing is his motor and the fact he never stops. But you do have to have a little bit of basketball awareness there to not.
It's got to be the ticky-tack ones early, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of where it all stems from. A little too much early foul trouble this year that leads to the foul outs at the end. But also to what you say, there is a little bit of he's still not a superstar whistle guy.
Yeah, which, like, will come.
Fair enough.
Hopefully.
Fair enough. But he has played very well. His career highs in fucking everything. It's like 26, 27 points a game. 28.
Yeah, he's to your prediction that he's going to make an All-NBA team, I think that's gone from, like...
He quite simply must.
It's gone from, like, maybe to, like, oh, no, he fully is.
Taking 5.5 threes a game and making 42% of them.
Yeah, he's really good.
Crazy.
I will say, he is better than I expected. I was waiting...
Same, yeah.
I was waiting for, if not a regression, at least to, like, well, we got to give him some time, and, like, we'll see. But no, he's...
above the break threes.
Yeah.
And OG
I don't know who
has been great.
I don't know who's responsible on the Raptors coaching staff for these guys' development, but give them a raise.
Yeah. I mean, it also comes down to the players. But yes.
It's just so consistent throughout the roster that it has to be... Yes, it's talent and it's identifying talent, but, like, there has to be some sort of... I just don't understand how, like, basketball practice and development works, but whoever is responsible, good job.
Nobody's paying us for that, that's for sure.
They should. No, they shouldn't.
No. things are going great.
Not for the Raptors.
Suddenly bring us in.
We could go do it for, like, I don't know.
All the way around. They
Nets
should be developing us.
Hey. No, that's an idea.
10 minutes in, how are you feeling about the Aveling IPA?
It's delicious. I actually really like it.
Vivid, aromatic. Wonderful. Okay, let's move on to other things, and we'll talk about TFC, maybe some...
Sure, talk about your Reds.
Maybe some hockey right after
this.
this.
TFC team can.
Yes, it is. All right, Toronto FC.
Toronto FC.
Stop me if you've heard this before. Toronto FC versus the Seattle Sounders for the MLS Cup.
3 times in 4 years.
2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah.
But winner take all. That's not true. Winner's got to take the other 2 as well. But
yeah, I suppose. But still.
Winner takes third. Third one is the winners.
The rubber match.
Rubber match. There we
go.
You go. Unexpected. I did not expect this.
No, me neither.
You obviously did not expect this because you were closer to the team than I am.
Well, I mean, like, they lost Josie Altidore in the last game of the season, and you think back to the Cup final runs 1 and 2.
He's the familiar face.
No, he's the familiar face, but he was like, he scored like the first one. He scored so much, like he was what's the word I'm looking for?
Indispensable.
Thank you. Indispensable. And both those runs, he seemed to have that extra gear in the playoffs, and then without that, it was kind of like, well, what are they going to do? But they also haven't lost in 2 months, which I think is a thing that not enough people are sort of focusing on in the, well, I didn't see that coming thing. Like, yes, they started off pretty rough this year, but they haven't lost in 2 months. They haven't lost in like 13 or 14 games. So they did get hot at the right time. I think probably, like, they played a lot of games in the last few years. Between the 2 playoff runs and the CONCACAF Champions League, I think going out in the first round of the CONCACAF this year was probably a good thing. Just get them some rest, and then they made some good sign. Like the Benazé signing, he scored last week, so obviously it was a good one. Gallardo's been good. Omar Gonzalez has been really helpful on defense, even though he hasn't played in the playoffs. So I think they made good signings, and also they're not fucking exhausted like they have been for the last year and a half, which I think is the big thing. Like I think clearly they're much better than their seeding indicated, but so I think it's a surprise, and I didn't see it coming, but I also don't think it's like the biggest upset in the world. Like last week when they beat Atlanta, everyone was like, "This is crazy," and like, yeah, but like Atlanta's not that much better than us.
There was a Joseph Martinez missed penalty.
There was a Joseph Martinez,
stopped penalty.
Which, if that goes in, they lose like 4-0.
He did not miss from that spot very often.
Yeah, that the first 10 minutes of that game were quite the emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like quick Atlanta goal, stop penalty, and then the Benazé goal was.
God, that was a great sports night.
It really was.
Such a great sports night.
It was fun, and also the Nick DeLeon winner was
it's gorgeous,
ridiculous,
gorgeous.
Can't give him space.
Apparently not.
Yeah, it's 2 he's scored in the playoffs now like that.
So this is it. I guess my question for you, as somebody that follows the team closer than I do, because everything else is sort of around them has gone up a level. The Raptors got really good. The Leafs got really good. It seems very different. Like, I feel like had they not won the 2017 Cup, would we be twice as excited about this run than we are? Because it feels like until they got to this point, I didn't hear anything about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
And 2017, it was like a month's worth of like, Toronto FC is going to win. You need to watch it.
I think... I have a few thoughts on this.
Please.
I think part of the blame lies on TFC themselves, because I don't think they've done a very good job. TFC and TSN, I should say. I don't think either have done a very good job of marketing the team this run. And I don't know where that lies. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if that's on the team or if it's on the network. But in 2017, from like June onwards, there was hype and buzz. Like, you go back and watch the 2017 Voyageur Cup final against Montreal, where Seba scored in like the 94th minute to win. The building was sold out.
Yeah.
And everyone went crazy. And that was in mid-July. They hadn't even made the run yet. I think that obviously building on the hype of the finals appearance and losing in a shootout the year before probably helped that. But it felt like TFC was a constant advertised presence in the city that doesn't feel that way now. And obviously they're still on TV, so they still have the TV contract, but it just the constant ads and like the constant buzz, like you see them now occasionally during another game on TSN. It's just like, oh, okay, there's an MLS Cup final on Sunday.
Right.
But so I think that's part of it, just marketing dollars, marketing time, marketing whatever. I also think that the Raptors winning the title and the Leafs being good and TFC having already won the title, I think does play a large part in this, especially because when TFC won in 2017, it was like, oh my God, Toronto won something. And it was like the whole city got behind it. So it was like, we have a team in a final in like a major sport.
Them and the Marlies.
Right? But it went from, TFC went from being, that's exactly right though. The TFC went from being on the Marlies level to all of a sudden, for at least for 6 months or whatever, we're up on like the quote unquote big sport level. And I think, a disappointing season last year probably didn't help. Because even in 2018, that crazy day where it was Raptors, Wizards playoffs, Leafs, Bruins playoffs, and the final of the CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah.
That CONCACAF game with TFC, people were paying attention to that. Because that was right off the Cup final win, and they went on that tournament run. And then they lost that, and then they had a shitty year. And I think it's maybe unfair for TFC, but because they are the fourth, maybe fifth team in the city, depends on how crazy you rate the Argos. But
they're more popular than the Argos.
Okay, so they're the fourth then.
Yeah.
But still, TFC can't afford to have a bad season and not lose their standing in the city. Like the Blue Jays and the Leafs can be bad forever, and if they're good, people will come back like that. No problem. Even with the Jays, people are always talking the Jays when they're bad and no one's going. Mm-hmm. But TFC, I feel like, can't afford that. And so I think, and then they started poorly this year. So, because again, in 2017, they were the best team in the league maybe ever from minute one. And as we talked about last week, when you have a guy like Jovinko scoring 30 goals in a season, it's really easy to be like, come watch this guy own everybody, as opposed to watching, like, come watch Alexander Pozuelo throw really sick crosses into the box. Like, it's not, he does that, but it's not as easy a sell,
Right.
I think.
Right.
So I think that's what happened. But it is, I'm very curious to, if they win, actually, not even if they win, just on Sunday, I'm curious to see what the excitement looks like. In 2017, when they were playing Montreal in the semifinals, you couldn't get, or 2016, you couldn't get into a bar on Bloor Street. Everyone was watching.
Absolutely.
It. I'll be curious to see if that's the case on Sunday, and I kind of don't think it's going to be. It feels like it's gone back to the niche fandom that they've always had, that it'll be a huge deal for that. And if they win, maybe next year they'll be able to build it back again.
I will say that Sunday is looking like a good sports night.
Sunday's a full day.
They lead in to Maple Leafs Blackhawks, which leads in to Raptors Lakers. 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9:30.
That's a full day.
That's a
3 o'clock. TFC's at 3.
Pardon me, 3 o'clock.
But still,
that's right.
Even then, that's a full day.
That's a great day.
That is a good day.
Sunday. Oh, baby.
Yeah.
What else do we want to talk about? Oh, yeah, the Maple Leafs.
The Buds still exist.
The Leafs are leafing it up.
They sure are.
My favorite analogy for this is they're playing like the kid who knows he needs a 30 on the exam to pass the class.
And he gets a 31.
Yeah. I'm not going to do the essay portion. Why do I waste my time? I'm going to start my summer early. And then, so you get the report card, and the parents go, like, a 65, you know this class inside and out. And it's just like, well,
yeah,
getting an 80 and getting a 65 means no difference to me.
A passing grade is a passing grade.
Right. So it goes.
I mean,
last night was boring, and then they won.
It's funny. We said, I think last week, we said the next 4 games are very winnable. And if they win those 4 games, everyone's probably fine. They've won 2 of them, and everyone's madder.
Yeah, very.
Everyone's like, because they're not fun to watch. Like,
they're not smacking down teams. They're not beating teams 5-0.
I don't even think it's the matter of that. Like, yes,
they haven't had an easy win yet.
That's true, but it's also like when you just look at the talent on the ice, and they're playing this extremely boring, disinterested style, I can understand the frustration. And then you have, now I'm wondering, like, Babcock came out today and said that he really likes the grinded out style in the win. So maybe it's on purpose.
He liked that they were tested and persevered.
Are they tested against the Kings? They just didn't.
They managed to find a way to get tested by the Kings.
I guess.
Which is not easy to do.
But it doesn't feel like that's a good thing to me. I'm not sure it's a bad, I'm not sure it matters either way.
I do sort of agree with your point of, like, is some of that on purpose? Because, like, you don't play Nick Patin on your top line unless you're trying to make things a little tougher than they have to be.
Right?
Right? You can...
I know Captain hasn't been great, but you can still put him there.
No, I know. Agreed. And I look at... This is something else that with
are they just like everyone's just like got to wait for Hyman to be back this weekend?
That is sort of what every fan is sort of banking on.
Which is like a crazy.
When Hyman comes back, they'll be an offensive powerhouse
an
again.
Insane thing to say.
I don't know that that's true. It does make the third line pretty good, but something I am curious about, because when you look at Boston, for example, or Colorado last year, or Tampa Bay last year, they were just like, okay, here's our 3 best players on one line. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Right? And the Leafs don't ever do that.
But I mean, they kind of have too many best players to do that in a way.
But they don't even have one line that really does that, right? I guess you could say Nylander, Matthews, Janssen.
Or like
Janssen's probably their 6th best top 6 guy.
Again, not to put too much on Zach Hyman, which I don't want to do.
That's my point, though, right?
Like Tavares, Marner, Hyman's a pretty good line.
You could do Matthews, Marner, and Nylander if you wanted to. You could if you wanted to. That's all.
Yeah.
You absolutely could.
That's true. It's not like John Tavares.
Nothing stopping
you. It's not like John Tavares is going to struggle playing with other people.
You put Tavares with Janssen and Hyman, and that's just a team that's a line that's just annoying to play against.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. I never thought of that.
I know. Anyway, here's the thing. This is not even Leafs, but I wanted to talk about this last week and I forgot. Not a new segment, but something that I think we should do more of.
Okay.
Similar to the time we didn't understand how line changes work.
Yes.
We call it dumb sports questions.
Oh, I like that. Isn't that just the entire show?
Yes, but
okay.
This is a direct. We're not going to pretend
like stupid pet tricks,
right.
But for sports.
We're not going to give the impression that we have a deeper thought here.
Okay.
This is just my base level dumb sports question.
All right.
Isn't there nothing stopping a star hockey player from being on the ice as often as they want to be?
Yeah, we've had this conversation before. Yeah.
Right?
What? Yeah, you can just go.
You don't have to listen to the coach's line. Like in the game, like in a game 7, for example, you can play as much as you want. There's no punishment that can come to you. You can't be punished for that.
Yeah, it's like and we talked this a couple weeks ago at a bar. If Austin Matthews does that in Game 7 and they win,
There you go.
Babcock's going to be like, you're suspended for the next round of the playoffs.
No chance.
And if he does, he's going to get fired.
No chance.
Yeah.
And like you don't have to listen to the line combinations. You could just three of you in the intermission go, hey, we're on the line together now. And the coach literally cannot physically stop you from doing that.
I guess you
have to hold your shoulders down.
The only risk of it, I guess, is it would have to be communicated to the entire bench so you don't get it too many men.
Yeah.
But like they could do that.
Even then, as long as you jump out before the person that's supposed to go out, the other person has to be like, all right, well, he's out there, so it's not me.
Yeah. And also, like, I'm not sure I want the Leafs to do that, but like if there was a way to mutiny against Babcock, that'd be the best way.
I'm just saying, like, you could do it. And no other sport would allow that because every other sport, substitution is like a written down thing.
The closer you get, sometimes
check in.
Very rarely you see it in soccer where like a player refuses to. Like there's a thing with Chelsea last year where they tried to sub off Kepa and he was like, no, I'm not.
Or a pitcher trying to refuse to come out of a game.
Yeah.
But even then,
that never
even
works.
then, the manager gives the lineup card to the umpire, right? And says this guy isn't in the game anymore.
Yeah.
So the coach would basically have to scratch you mid-game, which I don't think they can do.
I guess
They could scratch you going forward.
Or they could like scratch. They could not call your number.
Doesn't matter. You just
but you could just go. Yeah.
That's my dumb sports question.
I like it.
Why don't more players just like take it?
Fuck you.
Take it on. I make it $12 million, and you're just fucking some coach for Carolina.
Now that you know what, like I don't. If Austin Matthews were to do that in a Game 7,
seize the means,
and it worked, and he was just like, "I'm playing 25. I don't care.
Yeah, whatever."
And then they won. That would be the greatest.
Double shifted.
That'd be the greatest fuck you, ballsy sporting moment of all time.
Seize the means.
Now I want that to happen.
Seize the means of production, my athlete friends.
Marxist sports. I like it.
Only hockey though. Again,
yeah.
The other ones you sort of have to. There has to be a break, and then you have to check in for something.
I think we've solved the Leafs' problems.
Mutiny.
Just let them do it themselves.
Play whenever you want.
Yeah, it's like a shinny.
Right.
Get the fuck off. I'm on.
Or Morgan Riley is like, Cody Cece, coach told me that I'm with Dermott. Cece's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he tells Dermott, hey, you're with me this time. You go, okay. And they
I'm
just.
not going to say no.
Morgan Riley told me.
Yeah.
In between periods, the coach goes, what the fuck? And they go, sorry, man, this is how it is.
Yeah.
You can yell at us for the next 20 minutes, or you can get out of the way.
Nick Patan's not going to say no to Austin Matthews.
Right?
If Austin's like, Nick, you're not on. Fuck you.
Right.
He's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to fight with Austin now.
Guess what? The top line's fucking Matthews, Tavares, and Marner. That's the top line now.
we need a goal. Fuck you.
It just is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like it.
That's today's dumb sports question.
I think we've solved hockey.
I feel like I just changed the game.
I think so.
As good as I possibly can. So what do you got? Anything else?
No, that's it.
Well.
I do like this beer, though. I'm going to keep drinking it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. We have stuff to do. We talk about music, talk about wrestling. We're going to talk about freaky things. And then the mailbag, of course.
Of course.
After this. All right, let's get into some stuff. Let's get into the minutia. Let's get into the general stuffingness, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the thing to do, the right way to phrase that.
Yeah, for sure.
The good intro.
100% focus from both sides.
I was just trying to figure out what my answer to one of these questions was.
We're gonna do song of the week, match of the week. Doesn't freak you out. But first, speaking of song of the week, Columbia House Party. A successful launch on Monday. And if
very nice launch.
Did not notice, which you probably did.
It's in the feed.
It's in our feed.
There's a little explanation from me to not be like, hey, what the fuck is this?
Which I am 100% for.
Yeah, we should just integrate everything at this point.
Listen, we're making no bones about how inner circle-y all these
Stringer Labs.
We get it.
Yeah.
We understand.
Yeah.
I was on the show this weekend.
You were.
I recorded my episode.
It was very good. That was our best episode yet, I would say. It
was a lot of fun.
It was really fun.
I would say that recording that episode and listening to the Weezer episode sort of rekindled my oh yeah, I did like music quite a bit at one point.
And I think what's fun about if you're following the show from
listen to Never Meant by American Football 10 times.
Great song. That song's so burned into my that opening guitar riff is so burned into my brain.
I was explaining to Blake that my taste in music is similar to like how my post-30s thing has been like just like 2 or 3 albums. My whole life, it's been like I got on to like 10 songs at a time and listened to them for 4 months.
Right. I used to do that with bands. If I found in high school, if I found a new band, I'd be like, just 2 months of only listening to that band and nothing else.
Right. When you were doing the quadrants, we talked about the quadrants of emo, and I was like, yeah, I was like a split between Fall Out Boy and Taking Back Sunday and like Brand New and stuff. Like when I say that, I mean like, I literally was those 3 bands and like nothing else that sounded. I didn't listen to bands that sounded like them. I just wanted
those bands.
I want those bands and
that.
those albums. And then there was a little bit where I listened to nothing but Bright Eyes and Sufjan
I was
Stevens.
listening to Bright Eyes on the way in.
I listened to a lot of Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
I realized going back and like I was thinking about like what else could I talk about. None of them would be as funny as the Fall Out Boy, where I had the great connections and the deep thoughts. But like, what else could I talk about at length? It's like I could probably do Dashboard Confessional and like Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
And Taking Back Sunday. And like Lil Wayne.
So.
But anyway.
But yeah, I think the fun to that point though. I think the fun of the show, sir, if you are a person who likes music but isn't like a music head, it's just one album a week.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll listen to this album because they're going to talk about it.
And I did not like Pinkerton when I was
really
ever really.
Interesting.
I was like the poser kid that I liked Weezer's singles off the first album.
Of course.
And then I was like, I don't have no interest in hearing this guy's deep thoughts.
If anything, you were like ahead of the curve.
Most people, yeah.
You were ahead of the curve.
So then
you were right the whole time.
Right, they come back to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's just go to that guy.
Yeah.
But I was never like passionate about it either. I was like, Sweater Song's a good song. Fun to yell along with Say It Ain't So.
But I'm kind of done.
Do not need to know this guy's inner thoughts.
Well, apparently he agreed because you'll never hear them again.
Anyway,
how about 9 covers?
Despite that, very enjoyable first show.
Thank you.
Anyway, do go on.
With what?
Song of the week.
Oh, yeah. My song of the week is a song called Sugarcane by a band called Bad Cop, Bad Cop. They are great. I feel like I haven't really done a lot of female non-binary fronted song of the weeks before, so I'm going to do that.
Okay.
They're on a tour with another band called War on Women, who are also kick-ass. They're coming to Toronto. They're coming to Bovine in a couple months, I think. Next month? This month? I'm not sure. But you should go because it's going to kick ass. And they tweeted out yesterday that this tour, they want to show sort of the industry that 2 bands fronted by female and non-binary people can sell tickets and be marketable. And that whole excuse is sort of out the door in 2019. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a worthy argument to make, and also they kick ass and their songs are great. So if you like sort of anything in that sort of propagandy skate-ish punk world, you might like this. So check it out. Bad Cop, Bad Cop. Song is Sugarcane. They have 2 albums right now. I think they have a new one coming out, and it kicks ass. So do that.
Beautiful. For Match of the Week, I'm going to take something, sort of an idea that you did recently where you talked about something totally different.
Yeah.
But tangentially related. The whole WWE and Saudi Arabia thing.
Right. I actually have been sort of following this.
Yeah. So really strange. And it's a sort of thing that in the 1990s or like the late 80s, if there was a story that came out from like the Wrestling Observer that was like, oh, Vince McMahon stranded most of his talent on a plane in Saudi Arabia and then left in a different plane by himself, you'd be like, classic Vince. But 2019, you're like, no, fuck that. You piece of garbage. Like, I hope your employees riot and refuse to work for you.
For sure.
Because...
And, like, correct me if I'm wrong, because you obviously know...
An insane thing to do.
You know way more about this than I do. Doesn't that seem like bad timing with this current rise of AEW and everyone being like, hey, WWE kind of sucks ass?
This is the whole thing. Is like, that's another reason why if it was the 90s or the early 2000s, you'd be like, oh, crazy old Vince. Like, he's a crazy guy. And now it's like, no, they could leave if they wanted to and make good money somewhere else. You fucking nut. You absolute nut. And then they extended their deal with the Saudi Arabians for another 4 years. Because it must be like absurd.
So much money.
It must be absurd money, sure enough. But like, at what cost? That you were leaving human beings on a plane while you argue with a Saudi Arabian crown prince. Literally, that's what you're doing. And the talent that is the only reason anybody watches your show. Like, if this was anything but wrestling, if this was anything else, this would be the biggest story in sports.
Yeah, for sure.
The New York Yankees got left on a runway in Saudi Arabia for a day and a half and then got lied to about why they were there. That would be the fucking craziest thing you'd ever hear about, and you would demand the owner quit or be fired. But because it's wrestling and no one ever knows how serious to take it, and they never know what's real and they never know what's true, people are just like, crazy Vince. Crazy old WWE.
Right.
It's like if you peel this back, this is fucking insane. And no one, it's just hard to explain that to people that don't even have that don't have a passing knowledge or don't entertain it as a real thing. It's like, well, there are real people caught on an airplane in Saudi Arabia who don't know when they're going to see their family again.
It's a very good point.
It's fucked up. It's pretty fucked up. And
It's also like
there's other options for these guys.
those are other options for you guys, but it does feel like, again, from my very distant,
Sure.
not close, not really paying attention thing, it seems like every story I've heard about the WWE for the last 2 years has been negative.
Right.
It's been like WrestleMania was too long and it sucked, and the matches are getting worse, and Vince is a crazy person, and now they're being left in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And it just it's hard to, because it's WWE and it is like the first thing anybody in the world thinks about when they think about wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a chance that this decline could actually really put a dent in them, or is it just
It's hard to say.
Are they just in like a pain?
It's hard to say.
Pain point
because it's
moment.
the sort of thing where you'd like to say that an experience like that gets all the employees to go, we should fucking unionize, or we should do something. We should take action. We should do something. But the reality is that it's such a fickle business, and it's such a there's such a lack of security in any way. Like, it's not like the MLBPA where you have a union where you can go to and say, I have a grievance here. You can basically quit and work somewhere else. Those are your options. And even then, the
fans aren't going to go anywhere despite all of this.
Well, the ratings have literally never been lower.
Really?
WWE has never been less popular, basically, since having Raw and SmackDown as shows. But it's still like 1.5 million people a week. It's like there's a certain fan base that's just what they are. But yeah, just sort of like really weird to see, because it is the nature that it is, that like that would normally be a much bigger news story if it was any other company in the world, any other entertainment.
Yes, I think that's
just
true.
That's just the controversial, like the stupid thing that, like, just in general, working with Saudi Arabia at this time is worthy of scorn and derision. Like, just that deal alone is worthy of like, what the hell's really going on here? Forget like who fucking knows why they were abandoned on a runway. And again, because wrestling, there's no real desire to do the journalism and figure out what actually happened. Because who do you even talk to? Are you trusting Vince McMahon, or are you trusting the Saudi Arabian government? Which one of those sources are you fucking going to?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fucked up.
Rough week for politics and wrestling.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho.
It's like the Washington Nationals thing, where you have to be like, go Nats, and then immediately like, oh right.
Everyone's bad except for Sean Doolittle.
Yeah, you're like, oh right, the DC baseball team is going to go to the White House happily, mostly.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
You don't have to wear the hat though.
No, you don't have to do any of the shit that Kurt Suzuki did, but he did it. It's too bad, because Kurt Suzuki was nice to me exactly once. Which is all I ever asked.
You
really.
hate to see it.
You really do.
You really hate to see it.
Jake, does this freak you out?
Probably.
Are you a like? I know we did this early on about space.
Yeah.
But are you like when you hear about how close we are to getting hit by asteroids, it freaks you out?
Sort of. And here's why. So when I was younger, that scared the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think as a combination, I mean, I was scared of everything as a child, but the quote unquote end of the world always scared me the most. Like, I remember when I must have been like 7 or 8. I saw Terminator 2 for the first time and was really afraid about August 29th, 1997 and Skynet coming and nuking everybody. Mm-hmm. And then someone, I forget who it was, someone I was like 12 told me about like the ozone layer was going to disappear in a year and like the world's going to end, and then Y2K and...
What about 2012?
That didn't... by that point I was like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But asteroids seem plausible and are plausible because it's happened before.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's something I'm actively like afraid of, but when I hear like, oh, this almost hit us, it's like, oh, you're glad to hear about it now.
Yeah. Because guess what? On Thursday,
So there you go.
Halloween, a near-Earth asteroid identified as COPPEV1 came closer than any other asteroid of all the recorded data to hitting Earth. At its closest, it was 6,200 kilometers above Africa at 7 a.m. Pacific time.
That's way too close.
To get an idea of how close this is, most telecommunications satellites, about 35,000 kilometers. So it was 6,000 compared to 35,000.
Yeah, that's also like, isn't it wild we don't like that's not major news?
It reached a speed of nearly 43,452 kilometers per hour It's likely only 2 to 7 meters in diameter, but is the closest we've come to being hit by an asteroid without being hit. We recently hit, there was one smacked into the atmosphere in Russia in 2013. The thing about this is, there was another one actually. NASA nearly fails. Here's the headline. It's basically Asteroid Day. Headline here is NASA nearly fails to spot another asteroid as it passes close to Earth. A 42-foot asteroid is on a speeding collision course with our Earth just 3 days ago on November 2nd.
The thing is also like
this one only came 65,000 kilometers, so it's further away than this.
It's also like, what do you do?
Nothing. You blow it.
Like,
you drill into it.
Do
put a nuke on
Armageddon.
it.
Yeah. But like,
and you train the oil guys to be astronauts, not the other way around.
Of course. It's a stupid thing.
Not anybody can be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Not anyone can operate a fucking drill. Yeah.
In space.
Bruce, I cried so hard first time I saw that movie.
You didn't want to miss a thing.
Anyway,
but yeah, it's wild to me that when these things happen though, they're not like. It also speaks like how fucking broken our world is. Like that should be on every headline of every newspaper of every website in the world. Like, hey, this almost happened 3 days ago.
It's funny because the movies, such as Armageddon, sort of make you believe that were that to happen, there'd be like a week of the president on TV being like, "We're in grave danger." No. Asteroid would just hit the fucking Earth.
Even if there was. Even if there was a week of that, now it'd just be Trump being like, I could blow up the asteroid. I'll do it.
I almost guarantee you we would not hear about it.
For sure we wouldn't.
You'd be sitting in your fucking breakfast, eating cereal.
Then it'd be like on the news. It would just be like, asteroid hits.
Boom. That's what you'd hear. And what the fuck was that? Oh, asteroid hit the Earth.
Yeah.
Here comes the ocean.
And like also like no one's fucking in 2019 prepared to like deal with that.
No. Not unless they can make them trillions of dollars.
Yeah, right. Imagine fucking Trump dealing with something like that. It would just be like, I don't care. I'll fight it. I'll punch it and it'll go away. Like if there's any, we talked this a little bit with aliens. If there's any catastrophe before like a major worldwide government change, we're fucked. Absolutely fucked. You think Boris Johnson's going to know what to do? Absolutely fucked.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident they're not going to tell us about it until it's too late. Whenever it is.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. It's going to be one of those things like you have a day to live. Sorry.
Yep. Kiss your loved ones. It's over.
Yep.
Also,
it's gonna suck,
but the sports is still on, so you'll be fine. You'll be watching sports. That's what'll happen when the world ends.
Oh, if that's how I die,
you'll be watching sports
or listening to Sportsfeld.
Hopefully, and buying our merch.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, move into the mailbag.
Let's do it.
First question comes from James G. I think we talked about this a little bit, but First question comes from James G. Something we talked about already. Is Leafs Nation as a whole generally better or worse now compared to when the team was very bad?
It's a trick question.
Okay.
Because Leafs Nation has
always
terrible.
been very bad.
It's always terrible.
Yes, but better or worse?
Probably better. Like, it has to be better than those like the Randy Carlyle years.
I think so. This year's a real test. Yeah,
this year's a test, but this year also has the built-in like at any point they could just be good and it's fine.
Yeah, I think also
there's less. I feel like people are angry and frustrated, but there's less poison. I feel like.
Yeah,
there's always a ton of poison.
To your point about the Carlisle years, even when the team was putrid, people would get into arguments with the team actually being good, right?
Yeah.
About people who just like don't shit talk the team. If you're a fan,
or not even that. We would have arguments about Colt Noor and Fraser McLaren,
right?
Or like,
I think it is generally better as well.
I think it is just because they're frustrating and it's.
Yeah, there's expectation.
Not fun, and there's expectation, but no one is being like they should bench Austin Matthews.
Yeah,
like those arguments aren't happening.
Well, people say that about Nylander though. He gets it pretty tough.
Yeah, but he's Swedish, so
true.
That's how it works. But yeah, Leafs Nation is one of the worst fan bases in sports, and that will never change.
Our friend Didymus, who's always giving us good questions, with a classic. Let's remember some guys.
Ooh,
who was your favorite Much Music VJ growing up?
Gotta be Rick the Temp.
Rick the Temp. I like Bradford Howe.
Yeah, Bradford was good. I also, you know what? I really like Strombo.
Of course,
Strombo was great.
He's an institution.
The punk show was like a formative show for me in my music taste. Like so many bands that I loved and love, I discovered because of Strombo playing them on the punk show.
You gotta love Strombo.
It's gotta be Strombo.
He's a Canadian institution.
He is, and he's great. Man, I love Strombo. Bring Strombo. Relaunch Much Music with Strombo at the head.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Me neither, but do it. Do it. Just
They show Friends all day. Like it's not like it's not the same.
Also, no one's making music videos anymore, so there's nothing to show.
That was the follow up was obligatory. Remember when Much Music showed music videos?
But like no one makes them.
Yeah.
And if they do, that's just like a viral clip on YouTube and you're done.
No love for Rainbow Sun Franks.
I don't know if I know what that is.
Rainbow Sun. You remember Rainbow Sun Franks? Hey, Pup makes music videos and they're fucking very very detailed.
That's true.
It's a long story that I've seen. Started out with Finn Wolfhard. Anyway, Garrett's one. This is for me. What's the worst I've ever bombed on stage while doing stand-up comedy? You bomb like 40% of the time when you're bad.
But
So,
you
like-
you weren't bad though.
Yeah, but
We've talked with
it's not
this.
like
You
I
were-
didn't bomb. Like,
Of course, but
absurd.
everyone, even good comics.
That's
bomb.
right. Probably the first time I ever did it because I was just like I went to a weed lounge because I was like, oh, these are my people. And then I smoked too much weed, and then I was
course.
like, well, now I've literally never done this, and I couldn't be more self-conscious. I'll never be worse at it, and now I'm too high, so I'm 100% aware of how bad I'm doing. That was the worst I ever bombed.
Was it as bad as you?
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah. I heard listen to it back. I was like, this is nothing. This is the man who wants to leave the room he's in as quickly as he possibly can. And you never performed or written jokes before in your life, so you're just like,
Right.
And there was one later on. It was open mic, but it was like, I just completely forgot all my material. I was on for like 40 seconds. I was like, I got nothing, sorry, and I walked off.
What?
It was really bad. I just didn't like. I don't know. I wasn't in a smart place to be doing it, and I went first at a big open mic, and I was just like, well, forgot it all. I'm gonna go now. In terms of like bombing at like a show that wasn't like an open mic. What's that shitty? I bombed at the Blue Lagoon in Etobicoke once.
Oh, okay.
And there was two drunk students that went to Humber that were there, and they were talking the whole time, and I just like lost it. I was like, you really fucking. And then here's the thing, right? The thing about shitty like shows at places like Blue Lagoon is like they aren't wrong for being there in a bar, not caring about a stand-up show. Right?
Right. I've been in bars where there's a stand-up show. I'm like, I'm not here for this.
They
I don't
didn't
care.
pay to go to Yuck Yucks. They're not at a theater. They're in a bar already drinking, and a stand-up show happened around them.
Yes.
So I don't blame them, but I did not handle that well. How many? Akmedo asks this: how many toilets do you think you've been on in your life?
Fuck.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's like
Dead
200,
air.
probably.
I'm thinking.
200 seems right. You think about all the places you've been on vacation.
Yeah.
200,
200 seems low.
250, 300, 500, 500.
Because you have to think about any restaurant you've ever had to
Oh yeah.
had like an emergency in, any friend's house, any house you've lived, any hotel.
Probably closer to 1,000 then.
Yeah, any porta potty. Like,
Yeah, it's probably closer to 1,000.
it's so many. It's so many more than you think. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's definitely more than you think.
That's a great question.
Because you're thinking of 30 plus years.
Yeah, a lot of those is repeat visit.
Sure,
Yeah,
but like not all of it.
right.
Like if you think about it this way.
Been alive for about 12,410 days.
Yeah.
Does that freak you out?
Yeah, actually.
Why do I look for news? I could just fucking tell you basic stats about your life.
But you could like, let's say you average like 10 to 15 new toilets a year now, let alone like when you were younger.
Right, that's 300 plus. Yeah, it's like 500 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably like 2,000.
Yeah.
2,000 seems
2000 seems right, but I also wouldn't surprise me if it was higher. The other thing about this, there's no way to know.
no.
There's no way to prove this.
You try to add them up quickly, but you're right. Once you get into like porta potties and friends' houses and
Or just like random, I'm walking down the street and I got to run into a coffee shop kind of thing.
because my first instinct is like, well, there's a lot of repeat business, right?
There is, for
You go to
sure, unquestionably.
The one that I live with, that I've been going to for 3 years, is one toilet plus the toilets at work.
Yeah.
That's 2 toilets
Yeah.
for like 90% of my work.
But then think of anytime you're out somewhere,
Yeah.
anytime you're at a restaurant, anytime you're,
I will liberally say 2,000.
I guess I'll agree because I can't think of it, but I think it's probably higher.
Okay. Peter Shepard. Is it possible the Derek Fisher trade was a Jeff Finger situation? If you don't remember that, That was one that people believed that the Maple Leafs traded for the wrong defenseman. Just based on, I think it was Cliff Fletcher.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember who they were trying to trade for. Who were they trying to trade for? Because the way that he described the guy they had traded for was a completely different player. They were like the words that he used. Oh, where is this? I can't remember. Oh, I need to remember this. The guy that they.
Here we go.
Kurt Sauer.
Oh, man. Thanks, Dylan.
Kurt
8 great
Sauer.
moments in Leaf embarrassment. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh, of course, the Scott Lewis article. That makes sense.
That's what he does. You know what? Who do we think they were getting? And probably the Kyle Tucker, the other guy that they.
Or like Derek Fisher, the basketball player.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. But I think based on Carlton Christouli, who is one of their like scouts that also used to write for Fangraphs and was like a prospect savant for a little bit. They wanted Derek Fisher. They love Derek Fisher for some reason.
He definitely feels like a Shapiro Atkins guy.
Great question, though. Great question. But yeah, as far as I can tell, they love Derek Fisher.
You excited for Chase Anderson?
Chase Anderson, we may as well. We may as well. Chase Anderson is one of those ones where, like, if they had a really good rotation, you'd be like, Chase Anderson probably a long man. But they don't have a good rotation, so you're like, Chase Anderson's probably the number 3 guy.
Yeah. 1.8 WAR, baby.
That would be better than everyone but Trent Thornton. And Trent Thornton was not that good.
I like how quickly it went from, they could sign a couple of guys who got some, like,
Well, they still could. They're probably gonna.
This is an indication.
I think the indication is they're gonna try to make the whole thing out of Chase Anderson, right?
Yeah.
Tanner Roark is another guy that seems to be.
Boy.
Seems like Tanner Roark is coming.
Okay.
You read the tea leaves and like one of those things where like when everybody suggests it, you're like, oh,
Yeah, this is probably happening.
Blue Jays interested in Jay Bruce type of shit,
Oh, are we finally going to talk ourselves into Jay
which never
Bruce?
actually happened somehow. We'd have to have Blake on for Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce was Blake's guy for a long time.
What else we got?
How would you respond if a youth got you with a well-placed okay boomer? I'd have to be saying some pretty dumb shit.
I'd just be like, yeah, probably fair. I'd be like, fair
I
enough.
wish. Holy shit, I wish I was a boomer.
Oh, yeah, because we
All
have
the
like
stuff.
job security and money. Yeah.
I'd already retired. Wouldn't have to go to work. Live in a house that I bought for like 30 grand.
All those expectations of, you're 30 and you're done.
For sure.
All your decisions are settled.
Listen, youth are going to get us. I mean, we're going to get got by youth.
There's no way to avoid it. They're terrifying.
Here's what's going to happen, right? The same way that we look at boomers now and we go, man, they really destroyed everything, right?
Which unquestionably true.
For sure. What's going to happen is the group that is going to make fun of us is going to go, hey, millennials, why didn't you fucking do anything about it?
Yeah, because now the kids are all
They're
rising
activists.
up and like doing shit. Yeah.
Because our generation was like, oh, this sucks. And that was
Let's
about
complain
about
loudly.
as far as we got.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we don't have any job security. We don't have this. We have that. And that's like, yeah.
Maybe try maybe try anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
We tried nothing and we're all out of ideas.
It's also
We got weed legalized. What do you want from us?
yeah, we did our thing.
Leave me alone.
They're also like we did when we were doing Bad Jews the second time in Montreal. We did one show that was just for high school students.
Mm-hmm.
The most terrifying hour and a half of my life.
I don't think I could do that.
It was
I hope nobody in high school listens to my podcast.
right. It was terrifying.
They don't.
And like as soon
I'm
as
not
they,
even afraid of.
as soon as they heard someone say "fuck," they were like, "Ooh, we came into a fun show," but it was still just like
Nice.
the most nervous I was ever. Like teenagers they're the youths are scary
They said stuff about you on the bus back.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure they did.
What's the best joke each of you has ever made? That's a tough one.
Ugh, none.
I'd love to.
My jokes are so bad.
They're probably all tweets. Sickeningly enough.
Yeah.
What was it? Where were we? We're like, I think it was here. Oh, it was during the Columbia House Party when Blake tried to give us some trivia.
Oh yeah.
About this is a preview for a coming Columbia House
For
Party.
episode 3 of Columbia House.
Blake tries to give us trivia about what was a tweet and what was an actual song title, and I'm like, you can't quiz me on my own tweets.
Yeah.
I don't care if they were 6 years ago. They are still.
That
in
thread
there.
was really funny though.
We are funny guys.
Yeah, it's definitely a tweet.
This goes into Rick's tweet. Will we see Zubes on a future episode of CHP? Yes, you will.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. Really fun. Really exciting. Speaking of music, top 5 Canadian bands of all time. It's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
I mean, bands or musicians.
I'm gonna count them as the same.
Okay, because then we have to go. Alanis and Celine have to be on there.
Oh, I see. You're thinking like
Top 5.
factual. You're not thinking like you're not saying
Who's
favorite.
better than Alanis? Atlantis?
No one, but like, I thought he meant favorite, not
Yeah.
like, because there's a difference.
But stack these however you want. Atlantis is on my list.
Okay, she's not on mine if we're doing favorite.
Absurd.
She's amazing, but like, it's not my favorite thing.
Damn.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I know.
Finger 11?
Just want one.
Tell me
thing.
Paralyzer doesn't fucking
Oh, I
bang.
hate that fucking song.
That's more true to who they actually are.
For sure. For sure.
What about
it is.
One Thing? That one.
That song was around for a while.
The guy plays the hollow
I think
fucking
that was
electric
on
guitar.
How I Met Your Mother or something. Some shit like that.
That adds up.
Some shit like
that tracks. as they
Yeah,
say.
I don't know. I don't have an order in my brain.
Pup.
Yeah, they might be close.
100%.
Weaker Thens and Constantine's would be on there for sure.
Right. People always say those ones.
Propagandy's on there.
Okay.
Leonard Cohen probably.
Mm.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
You say fucked up. People love fucked up.
I do love Fucked Up. Fucked Up are great. Sloan would be in that conversation.
Really?
Thrush Hermit.
People love Sloan.
Sloan are great. Sloan, a underratedly consistent band.
Mm.
Every album is good, which is hard to do.
Okay. Bare Naked Ladies, obviously.
Of course.
Old Bare Naked Lady.
Stephen Page, Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah, obviously. Bare Naked Ladies, actually Bare Naked Ladies.
Or just Stephen Page.
Our
I would be confident just putting Stephen Page.
Our list could not be more different. I like this.
Yeah, that's fun.
I'm going like Atlantis, Bare Naked Ladies.
You like the classic like
Canadian
Chum FM.
Canadian radio stations.
Yeah.
We grew up in different places.
We did.
Great question. No Tea Party on mine. How about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Just the Doors, but worse.
Yeah, that's very Big Shiny Tunes.
Yeah, I mean, you could all just go through the Big Shiny Tunes and pick out like any of them.
And I think
Sean's gonna get mad because I Mother Earth aren't on there.
Oof.
Yeah,
Edmund McCain.
I've been bartender at Tattoo Rock Parlor.
That's good for him, I think.
I don't know if he still is, but he definitely was.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Tattoo Rock Parlor.
I mean, who among us didn't have
for
to
sure.
do that after
Success.
success?
Love to peak early.
Hey, having success is the hard part.
No,
Well, for some of us.
you can fall ass backwards into it sometime.
We will end with a classic Josh question. Although this is a very straightforward, actually. For Josh, this is very straightforward.
Okay.
What's your favorite film performance from the last decade? Boy, I've seen like
good one.
I've seen like 4 movies in 2010s.
I have to figure out what year something is in.
We'll do it from the 2010s forward.
Yeah, that's the last decade. I have to figure out what year this came out to know if this is my answer. 2012, yeah. Mads Mikkelsen in The Hunt
Okay.
is my answer.
Boy, I don't even know.
There's so many. It's been
That's why.
simultaneous.
So many I can think of that are just like so good that it's hard for me to pick one. Don't know that I saw enough. I'm gonna go with the one and only. There's only one man I could give this award to. Richard Kind.
Of course.
And I believe Bing Bong from Inside Out. Richard Kind.
That's actually a really good choice.
It had to be a Richard Kind performance.
Yeah.
Which one is it? It's Bing Bong. Richard Kind.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
I could also do.
We need to regain our status as the #1 Richard Kind sports podcast going.
It's true. We have taken some time off. I feel like
You know who hasn't is Richard Kind.
now that Big Mouth is becoming a thing, and he's very funny
He's
in that.
perfect.
I feel like
He's fucking perfect in that movie, in that show.
he's so every time he says anything, I'm laughing.
Anyway, I'm happy with my pick.
I feel like there's I could go with Philip Seymour Hoffman in The Master also. R.I.P. Really any Philip Seymour Hoffman role.
Speaking of which, I watched A League of Their Own the other night. What a good movie.
I haven't seen that in so long.
What a good movie. Man, that movie's so good.
I loved it when I was younger. I haven't rewatched it in years.
Gina Davis is so good in that movie.
Gina Davis is really good.
Tom Hanks is so good in that movie playing John Gibbons. Really, really good. Even down to the fact that he used to work in San Antonio. It's really great.
I like it.
The parallels.
John Gibbons just reincarnated
The
that guy.
parallels between him and John Gibbons are really funny. Once you see it through that lens, you're like, yep, that's John Gibbons. He even waddles around. It's great. That is it. Wrap it up. That's the end of the mailbag. There is only one thing left for us to do, and that is to answer the question on everybody's mind: are we sad or not sad after this? And here we go. We're closing things out. But first, we talk about new month equals new tea, as well as new beer. New T-shirt. As some of you may have noticed on the Twitter feed, I dig into the Portuguese heritage that I'm adopting.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm becoming Portuguese more and more.
As when you're white, you have no heritage. So
I have nothing.
You got to take something.
Now I get pastéis and I get shrimp, a lot of shrimp.
Chicken.
Bifanas.
Good chicken.
Yeah. Join me, my Portuguese pride, or just Maple Leafs pride. We got a new shirt, limited run. It's a Captain Tavares. Captain Tavares, John Tavares inspired Captain America shirt, limited run. T-shirt available for the month of November. Sportsfeld.ca. Then merch. Support us, your favorite podcast.
Buy some merch.
Buy some merch. As we were always saying, capitalism is the way to go.
Yeah, of course.
It's the only way forward.
It hasn't ruined the world.
Without it, how would we determine value? Answer me that.
Yeah, I don't know. Dollars and cents, man.
Who would we know who were the best people?
Not me.
I don't have any idea. So yeah, great sell for us there. Good reason to buy this shirt is we
Buy, please.
No, but it's a cool shirt.
It is a cool shirt. Buy it.
Sean and Clay do a great job of finding good designers who are like local.
They do it. And it's a nice blending of my interests of like comics and film and then sports.
Yeah.
And then shirts. I also love shirts because if I didn't wear them, everyone would laugh at me all the time.
That's true. And also thank you to our brewery of the month, Aveling Brewery, a vivid aromatic, IPA that I enjoyed to drink today. 6% IPA. Very good. Over the next 3 weeks, the Vienna Lager, the Geist Stout, and the Bohemian Lager. If you want these beers, and maybe you want a bite to eat, maybe you want to be in the area where you can say, this is where Jake and Zubes wait for the bus to come to pick them up and take them back home. Come on down, 1042 Queen Street East. It's in Leslieville.
I appreciate that none of these beers are 7+%.
Thank God.
It's good for us.
You can sit down, you can get a bite, go to the pristine white building on the north side of the street, tell them Sportsfeld sent you so they can go, what are you talking about? And you can say it's a podcast. And they go, what? And they give you food and beer. I can't guarantee you'll get any discount by mentioning us. Seems unlikely.
But imagine.
But it would help
Give it
us.
a try.
But most importantly, as with the merch, it helps us, which is, to me, important. Anyway, Jables.
What's up?
We're at that time once again.
I suppose.
Yeah, you tell me about it, baby.
Let's do
Are you sad or not sad?
I'm sad.
Sad. Hit it. Hit it.
I don't want to get too much into this because I feel like it's been covered to death.
For sure.
I've been surprised at how much the Deadspin thing bummed me out.
It sucks pretty bad, eh?
And it's not so much.
I feel bad because I made light of it the last time we talked about this because I was like, the blog it'll be fine, and then everyone quit.
Yeah. It's not so much the blog itself, which does bum me out because I did really like Deadspin,
right,
and read it quite frequently. But someone had a tweet, or there's been a few tweets going around about how this is the beginning of the end of the internet, of the good internet, and it was built on the good internet, quote unquote, was built on the backs of creative people striking out into this limitless informational world and doing their own thing, and then capitalism got to it. And which is to be expected because that's how it works. But now it's all just, I mean, not that there isn't still good writing and good stuff out there, but it does feel like every day more and more good, important sites are being shuttered or at least changed to fit a mold. And it's not, and you see it with everything. You've seen it with Deadspin. You saw it with Gawker. You see it with, what's happening with Sports Illustrated right now. You see it with The Score. It's not just sports, which is the only examples I can pull out because I'm a idiot. But
that's what we read about.
But it is happening that it seems like these very rich people just want their click farms and their easy 2-paragraph AP article websites and nothing else, and that's what they think will work. And the fucked up thing is it's not working. It's not going to get Deadspin. No one's reading it. Right. Tim Marchman shared a thing last week that some article that Paul Mayman, who's now quit, wrote that got 70 views, which is an insane amount on a website that was as popular as Deadspin. But it just seems like every week there's just a new thing where something that was great or something that was important or something that was just outside the box is being shuttered because it doesn't fit such and such and such and such. And it just, I don't know. I've been surprised at how much it sort of bummed me out, even though, while it was going, I never did anything to support any of this other than just read it.
This is what happens.
So it's it's one of those, maybe I should have paid more attention to all this shit. But
it's hard to say that any one person's contribution would have changed it, right?
For sure.
It's Hulk Hogan's fault.
It is. As you correctly pointed out,
is.
It is genuinely Hulk Hogan's fault. But yeah,
Hogan, who was also on the plane with Vince and Brock Lesnar, they got out of the Saudi Arabians.
perfect.
They got out of there real quick.
Perfect.
Did not get stranded. Yeah, no, well said, Jake. And I think leads into I'm also feeling sad. Maybe it's just November doldrums and that it's cold and dark and
I think it always kind of doesn't help.
just a real crisis of like, it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
It's hard in this environment to continue pressing forward and saying, look at all this great, impactful, important stuff getting shuttered. I'm not even that good, and like, what do I have to lean on, right? Where am I going here? What am I fucking doing, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm halfway to 40. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and it's terrifying sometimes. And you know, I sort of opened up about this in the green room before the show, and I think everybody in the room was sort of nodding. Like, the thing about this is everyone's going through this. Everyone that does anything sort of has days where they're like, I don't even know what, like, it's not a huge leap for me to see a finger snapping and this all being gone and having no idea what I contribute and what I do and what I'm good at. I don't even know, because people who are better than me are out. And that's like terrifying. You're just like, well, if Deadspin dies, like,
Right.
I'm not looking for compliments. I'm not fucking Deadspin. Like, I'm not that good at anything. So it's hard.
It is. And not to sort of, and I mentioned this before, and not to tie it back to like the fuck the boomers thing, but I think so much of this panic and uncomfort that you're speaking about and that our generation feels is, and I've said this before on the show, maybe even within the last 2 weeks, I can't really remember, but like, is because our like sort of expectation of life is based on a life that no longer exists.
Right.
And this idea that like, oh, I'm in my 30s and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Yes, like 50 years ago would be insane. But
Yeah.
now everyone in their 30s doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
Right. If you had a panic attack at 35 20 years ago, you were leaving your teenage kids. Right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's not like 35 and I'm like, oh, I have to plan all this stuff. Like, at 35 you were halfway through already.
Exactly.
And I'm 35 and I feel like I haven't even started. And then I'm gonna have to start over at something else.
And I think it's just rewiring our brains to, and like I haven't done this because I feel this every day as well.
Yeah.
But like, I think we as our generation and generations going forward have to rewire our brains to the idea that like, there's no age where you're just like settled and done. Like, it just doesn't exist.
That's cool.
And it sucks ass. No, it sucks.
Yeah.
But unless you went into like industry out of school, it's just never going to happen that way like it used to.
Yeah.
Like, you're just, especially if you're in a creative field,
Yeah.
you're always going to be paycheck to paycheck, job to job, project to project, unless you get extremely lucky. And it sucks for sure. But it's like, I think it sucks a little less if you can rewire it to realize that that's everyone.
Right.
And not just like, I'm fucked because I'm in my 30s, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And you're
Not halfway through,
Right.
ideally, in 2019.
And even to that degree, I'm still much luckier than most people.
For sure.
So
I mean, it's the thing I've been
try
thinking
to
about
keep perspective. But
having a job at all.
yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
You try to keep perspective, but there's some days where you're just like,
It's tough.
oh my God, like, hard.
Yeah. I
But
look at like that Mike Birbiglia bit about marriage when he's like, no one thought, everyone's like fine with marriage last year because they only lived to be 35. And they're like, it doesn't matter. And it's like, oh, we can live to 70 now? Oh, no.
yeah.
And I think it's like that. Like, we're not halfway through at 35 now. We're ideally like a third of the way through.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you ever figure it out now, because who knows what the world looks like going forward.
Sure doesn't seem like I'm on the verge of figuring it out.
But
every
again,
time I do, it sort of changes.
And like, I know it doesn't help, but nobody is.
Right.
And that doesn't make it better or more fun or less stressful. But I think, I mean, at least to me, like as I said, I've said this on the show before, I had this exact conversation with Cassie in September. So I was having this exact crisis, an exact conversation. And she was kind of like, well, just know that like we're all like this, which again, doesn't fix it.
Right.
But since having that conversation, it has helped a little bit in my brain, being like, oh, okay, no one's settled. No one knows what the fuck they're doing.
Luckily, it's systemic.
Yeah. Luckily, it's our broken society that has caused this.
2 thumbs up. On that note,
Vote for socialist candidates.
what a show.
Yeah.
Show's over. Thank you to Big Daddy Sean for the nice, clean copy today. Great work from Sean.
Yeah,
And
love it.
as always from Clay for his loving support of the show and all things Stringer Labs. You can look for Columbia House Party on Mondays in our very feed.
Episode 2 coming this Monday.
Episode 2. Did you guys tease what episode 2 was
Yeah,
about?
a little bit of it's in the news these days.
You guys did it.
We brought them back.
You created this band's renaissance.
Yeah, a little bit of the Black Parade coming on Tuesday.
You're
on
gonna
Monday,
talk
on
Black
Monday.
Parade, and then it's us again.
Then it's us.
The rotation.
Yeah.
So Columbia House Party Mondays. Sportsfeld is Wednesdays. You also get
Resting on Pretty
on Mondays as well. So lucky you. That's all some Stringer Labs stuff from beautiful Space Monkey Studios.
Clay's
right here.
podcast too, I think.
Stringer, it's not as consistent.
Yeah,
But Clay also does the Stringer podcast where he talks about people in sports media about sports media.
and writes his own copy. So
Which is if you want to ever see what it's like when Clay reads what Clay writes, The Stringer is the podcast for you. I was on that, and he found a bunch of other guys with my name and made up a fake documentary about who I was, and we had to parse through it.
that's pretty good.
It's an
He
idea.
didn't give me any of
It
that.
was an idea.
He was just like, tell me about you.
yeah,
And I
he was
like, okay.
straightforward and honest with you. I think he was. I
Yeah.
think he was scared because he didn't really know me that well, so
That's
he
fair.
tried to curb it. Anyway, thank you to Sean and Clay. Thank you to Dylan for doing all the actual work. Thank you to the intern in the box for listening to the whole show, and thank you if you listen to the whole show, as always, for listening to Sportsfeld and bearing with us. So thank you for listening to Sportsfeld.
Sportsfeld!